All right, so anyone who's seen this year's Oscars wants to talk about that Kieran Culkin moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, it was electric. You've got the Dolby Theater, everyone dressed to the nines, and Culkin, fresh off his win for Real Pain,
Right.
just drops an F-bomb right into his acceptance speech.
Yeah.
Of course, the censors bleeped it for everyone watching at home.
Sure.
But it left everybody wondering,
What'd he say?
what did he actually say?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to unpack in this deep dive.
I love it.
So what did he say, and why is it so important? Why are we even talking about this?
Well, I think it's fascinating because it wasn't just a random F-bomb. It was directed right at Jeremy Strong, his fellow nominee.
Oh, interesting.
Former Succession co-star.
Okay, yeah, that's what made it so interesting. They were both up for the same award, and Culkin's reaction, even though it got bleeped, it felt so genuine.
Yeah, it did.
And thankfully, Deadline got the uncensored footage.
They did, yeah. And it turns out he said, he's right, by the way. Jeremy, you're amazing in The Apprentice. I love your work. It's effing great. He covered his mouth afterward like, whoops, maybe shouldn't have said that.
Right. I mean, you have to wonder, that kind of raw, unscripted moment, is that why it resonated with people?
Possibly, yeah.
Because it's so rare at the Oscars, right?
Yeah.
It's this very formal event, almost reverent.
Sure.
And suddenly you've got Culkin injecting this burst of, playful energy.
Right.
Do you think maybe audiences are hungry for something a little less polished,
Yeah.
a little more real?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, isn't it? It certainly challenges the traditional image of how winners are supposed to behave at the Oscars.
Right.
And it also makes you wonder what it says about Culkin himself.
I mean, this is the guy who played Roman Roy.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Sharp, cynical, and always ready with a biting remark.
Yeah.
And to see him be so genuinely supportive of a competitor, using language you'd never expect at the Oscars, I don't know, it just makes you think, right?
Yeah.
About the line between these actors' public personas and who they are off screen.
Absolutely, and consider the fact that both Culkin and Strong were nominated for roles that are miles away from the Roy siblings.
Right. Culkin's in a Real Pain, this deeply moving drama.
Yeah.
And Strong is playing, wait for it, Roy Cohn in a movie about Donald Trump
You can't make this up.
called The Apprentice. The irony.
Oh, the irony is just delicious.
It's just delicious.
Yeah, and to add another layer, Robert Downey Jr. presented the award.
Oh, wow.
And even he took a moment to praise Strong's performance as fearless.
Wow. Yeah.
Clearly, there's a lot of mutual respect between these actors, even though they're all vying for the same prize.
It's almost like a mini Succession reunion,
It is, yeah.
even if they're not playing the Roys anymore.
Right.
Speaking of reunions, though, remember that bet Culkin made with his wife?
Ugh. The one where she promised him a third child if he won an Emmy, and upped the stakes to 4 kids if he nabbed an Oscar.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
And he even, jokingly reminded her about it in his speech.
Oh, did he really?
He said, no pressure.
Oh, that's great. It's very much in line with his personality, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Humorous, a bit cheeky,
Oh, absolutely.
and clearly loves his wife.
Oh, yeah. Although I'm not sure I'd be making jokes about having 4 kids if I were him.
Right. Maybe that's just me.
But hey, maybe that's just me.
But what's interesting here is this little anecdote about the bet. It gives us a glimpse into a side of Culkin that we don't often see.
Yeah.
It humanizes him, Reminds us that beyond the awards and the red carpets, these actors have families and lives outside of Hollywood.
Yeah, it definitely adds a layer of depth to the whole moment.
Right.
So we've got this F-bomb.
Yeah.
We've got a bit of a Succession reunion vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a glimpse into Culkin's personal life. It's a lot to process.
It is.
But I think there's something deeper here about the way we perceive actors, especially those who've played such iconic roles.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's almost as if we expect them to embody those characters off screen as well.
Like we saw them play these, intense,
Right.
sometimes ruthless characters in Succession.
Yeah,
And we forget, they're actors
right.
doing their job.
And a very good job they did too.
Right.
But it's important to remember that actors bring their own experiences and emotions to the roles they play,
Yeah.
but ultimately they are creating a performance.
Yeah, I think that's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get swept up in the world of a show like Succession,
Right.
to feel like we truly know these characters, and by extension, the actors who play them.
Right.
But then you see these moments of, real-life interaction, like
Yeah.
Culkin's shout out to Strong,
Right.
and it reminds you there's a whole other layer to the story.
Precisely. You get a glimpse behind the curtain, as it were, and you start to question those assumptions you've made about who these people are.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does.
What's the real dynamic between Culkin and Strong? Are they actually friends?
Well, consider this. They spent years working together
Right.
on an incredibly demanding show exploring some pretty dark emotional territory.
Yeah.
So even if they weren't best buddies off screen,
Right.
they surely developed a unique bond
Okay.
through that shared experience.
It's true, yeah. It's not just about the time spent together,
Right.
but the intensity of the work itself.
Yeah.
You know, they were constantly pushing each other, challenging each other
Absolutely.
to go deeper, to bring those characters to life.
Exactly. And that kind of collaborative process
Right.
can forge incredibly strong connections, even if they're not always visible to the public.
So maybe this glimpse into their off-screen dynamic isn't so much about like a stark contrast to the Roy siblings' rivalry, but rather another facet of their complex relationship.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition, though, wouldn't you say? On screen, you have Kendall and Roman
Right.
locked in this bitter struggle for power, constantly undermining each other.
Right.
And then at the Oscars, you have Culkin and Strong
Right.
seemingly genuinely happy for each other's success.
It begs the question, how do actors navigate those different realities? The fictional world of the show
Right.
and their own personal and professional lives.
Right.
It's got to be a delicate balance,
It does.
especially when you're dealing with a show as intense and emotionally charged as Succession.
It does make you think about the toll that kind of work can take on actors.
Yeah.
How they separate themselves from those characters once the cameras stop rolling.
Right, and how they manage their relationships with their fellow actors,
Sure.
especially when they're all competing for the same recognition and accolades.
Imagine the mental gymnastics involved in celebrating your co-star's success
Oh, yeah.
while also acknowledging your own ambition and desire to win.
Yeah, that's got to be tough, especially in an industry as competitive as Hollywood.
Absolutely.
It makes Culkin's,
Right.
F-bomb and his shout out to Strong all the more intriguing.
Indeed, it suggests a level of respect and camaraderie that goes beyond the typical Hollywood rivalry.
It makes you want to peek behind the curtain even more, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To understand what really goes on between these actors when they're not playing the Roys. Yeah, it really does make you think about those behind-the-scenes relationships.
It does.
And maybe that's part of what makes, award shows so compelling, right? Like we
Yeah.
get these glimpses, these little flashes of the real people,
Yeah.
underneath the characters in the red carpet personas.
Precisely. Yeah.
It reminds us that actors are complex human beings with their own unique journeys and relationships.
Right.
And, they bring those experiences to the roles they play.
Right.
But they also have lives that extend far beyond the screen.
Absolutely. And it's not just about Succession either. It applies to all actors, really.
Right, especially those who become closely associated with particular roles.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power of acting, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ability to so completely embody a character that the line between fiction and reality becomes blurred.
But as viewers, I think it's important for us to remember that actors are not their characters.
Right.
They're artists who bring those characters to life, but they also have their own stories to tell.
And those stories can be just as fascinating, if not more so.
So as you reflect on this year's Oscars and that, that memorable moment between Kieran Culkin and Jeremy Strong,
Yeah.
think about what it reveals about the nature of acting, the challenges of fame, and the enduring power of human connection, even in the midst of fierce competition.
It's a reminder that there's always more to the story than what we see on screen.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? We get to enjoy the artistry of these actors,
Yeah.
be moved by the stories they tell, and
Wow.
ponder the complexities of the characters they bring to life.
But we also get to appreciate them as individuals with their own unique journeys and relationships.
Absolutely.
And perhaps we'll see Culkin and Strong share the screen again someday. Not as warring siblings, but as collaborators,
Oh, wow.
bringing their unique dynamic to a whole new story.
Now, that would be something to see.
It would.
Until then, we can savor those little glimpses into their lives,
Right.
those moments of genuine affection and respect that remind us that even in the cutthroat world of Hollywood, sometimes the best stories happen off screen.
And sometimes those off-screen moments speak volumes about the people behind those captivating on-screen personas.
Right.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those deeper connections.